Welcome to the Throttle Up Leadership Podcast. Our theme for 2025 is the future of work. Meaning is the new money. In a world shaped by rapid innovation and constant change, the pursuit of purpose and impact has never been more important. I'm Dr. John Dentico, your host, bringing over 30 years of experience in leadership, strategic thinking, and purpose-driven innovation. Here, we tackle the pressing challenges of our time, from the rise of artificial intelligence to the growing need for meaning in the workplace. Together, we'll uncover how leaders can ethically integrate AI to enhance decision-making and keep humanity at the heart of their organizations. Remember, amidst all the technological advancements, in the end, it's always about the people. This podcast is your resource for actionable tools, thought-provoking discussions, and inspiring stories. It's time to go beyond leadership development and focus on leadership impact, creating workplaces where people thrive, innovation flourishes, and meaning truly becomes the new currency. Thank you for joining me on this journey. Now, let's throttle up and dive into today's episode. Hello again and welcome to the Throttle Up Leadership Podcast. I am your host, Dr. John Dentico. With me today is Bethany Jeanfreau, a global marketing strategist, fractional chief marketing officer, and entrepreneur with over 15 years of international business experience. Having lived and worked across Shanghai, Prague, Portland, Oregon, and Lisbon, she brings a unique borderless perspective to business growth and leadership. Bethany's expertise lies in bridging cultures, industries, and strategies, helping businesses align their marketing efforts with their overall company objectives to drive sustainable growth. She started her career as a management consultant in Shanghai, where she worked with diverse manufacturing companies, refining her problem-solving and strategic thinking skills. She later co-founded Paradigm Fitness, a corporate training and coaching company, before taking on a leadership role in her family business, Image 3D, where she currently serves as Fractional CEO. Bethany specializes in startup marketing, growth strategies, and leadership in an international business landscape. With a passion for helping companies scale, she has successfully led multiple ventures, combining visionary thinking with hands-on execution. Now, as a fractional CMO, she works directly with founders and executives to accelerate business growth, develop impactful marketing strategies, and navigate the complexities of global expansion. And I am truly pleased to have her here on the podcast with me today. How are you, Bethany? How goes it this morning?
I'm great. Thank you, John. What a lovely introduction.
You're welcome. I'll send it to you.
Fantastic. Thanks.
You never know where it might come in. That's great. So, Bethany, we'll start our podcast this morning by asking you this question. Tell me a bit about yourself, although we've heard a lot there in the intro. Where did you grow up, and what in your mind were some of the fundamental influences in your life?
Okay, I grew up just outside of Portland, Oregon, and that's where I lived for the first few decades of my life before moving overseas. And as far as the fundamental influences of my life, are you referring to early life or currently?
Wherever you are, wherever you want to start.
Okay, I'll start with currently. I would have to say one of the biggest influences in my life currently is just my living outside of my home culture and living in a variety of places and a variety of continents. Also included in that list is I have lived in France for a year as well. I've popped around quite a bit, and working and living alongside people who don't necessarily share the same cultural values as you, where the culture is quite different from your native culture, has really profoundly impacted how I make decisions, how I live my life, and how I work.
Glad to hear it. Yeah, I've had the opportunity. As a naval officer, I've traveled the world.
Oh
Went
yeah.
everywhere, the Mediterranean, Southeast Asia, lived in Northern Europe for about 15 months. And you're right. It was culture shock for me when I was there many years ago. But it was such an eye-opening and experience. And it gives you
Yeah.
a much different perspective on things.
Oh,
on
yeah.
how people view the world, how they see the world. And it's always been, and I've always go back to thinking it's one of the most valuable experiences in my life, without a doubt.
Oh, yeah.
So let's move on. I want to ask you this question. You describe your superpower as seeing marketing through a CEO's mindset. What common mistakes do businesses make when it comes to aligning marketing with overall business strategy?
There are a few mistakes. A lot of company owners see marketing as a cost center instead of an investment. And I think that is a mistake. Yes, like any investment, there's a cost up front, but when you're looking for the returns, which a lot of people don't understand, the returns might not be immediate. You might invest into marketing and not see your return for months, but it will come. And you do have to be patient with it. And I'm sorry, could you please restate the question? I had a second point.
What common mistakes do you businesses make when it comes to aligning marketing with business strategy?
Yeah. And I would say another thing I noticed, especially when I was doing the marketing from my CEO position, is that it's very easy to get siloed, stuck into one thought as far as this is marketing and it's not impacting the rest of the company. But I never had that because as chosen CEO, as co-president of the company, I saw how marketing impacted sales, which impacted operations, which impacted the manufacturing floor. It was manufacturing. It is a manufacturing company. And a lot of people that I've talked with, they see marketing for marketing, not marketing for how it's going to impact even like the production floor and how production impacts marketing and how you have to change your messaging if you're having like production issues or challenges like that. And just really looking at it from is the what you're saying in marketing, is the company actually doing that? And then if you want to do something in marketing, what do you need to change in the rest of the company to accomplish that?
Yeah, I agree. When you stop and think about it, marketing sales are the revenue generation functions of the organization. Everybody else is just trying to get the products and the services to the front door in a
Yeah.
lot of respects. And certainly, if you make great products or you provide amazing service, they, in a sense, sell themselves later on. They build their own tidal wave, if you will, of support. But new markets, expansion, it's all about marketing and sales and how you get that out there. I can appreciate that. I want to ask you this question. The fractional executive model is becoming more popular. I'm sure you recognize that. You've seen that.
Oh, yeah.
Can you explain what it is and why more businesses are turning to fractional CMOs, in your case, CEOs, instead of hiring full-time executives?
Mhm. To hire a full-time executive is actually a pretty expensive endeavor. It's not just the salary, it's the full compensation package. And when you think about what an executive may do in their workday, quite a bit of it is also like administration. Quite a bit of it is solving problems on that are not necessarily within your purview, but that are just other people may come to you because they know that you're a helpful individual. The beauty of that being a fractional CMO is that I can come in and do just the strategy and then oversee the implementation of the strategy that I create. The other work, like the administration, the other work, like helping other people to solve their problems, it it falls away, and it's not part of my work. And the benefit to the company, it's a fraction of the cost. You can get top line marketing leadership and you don't have to have the overhead of a full-time employee. And the beauty of another fractional is they can join and often do join the leadership team. So you can have that marketing perspective that comes in and impact, you can talk about how it's going to impact the rest of the company. But you, again, don't have to have a full-time person in the company to get that done. And so it can just make it a little bit more streamlined that way.
Yeah, I understand. Let me ask you this question because it just occurred to me when you're saying, do you see the fractional CMO market? In other words, the market for fractional executives. Do you see that growing in the future?
I do, especially as people learn about what it is to be a fractional executive. I mean, The fractional CFO path has been there for quite a while, and people are pretty familiar with the part-time or fractional CFO. In just expanding that whole motion out to other executives at the company, why can't we have a fractional chief technology officer? If we don't need that full time, maybe the company's not that big, maybe the technology we're looking at is not that numerous. So why not have someone come in on a part-time basis to see that and save the money and put it to other purposes in the company to grow the company and then still have funds within it to keep keep the company growing.
I have a curiosity about the fractional position, so let me see if I can answer that. Do fractional, let's say CFOs, or in your experience, do they, or CMOs or CEOs, I would imagine they have line authority, meaning that they can have asks or say, hey, listen, we need to get these 4 things done
Yeah.
by 10 days. Is that correct? They do have line authority?
Oh yeah. So as a fractional CMO, I come in and I'm equipped to hire my own team if that's necessary, fire, source vendors, audit vendors, do everything that a full-time CMO would do, just not full-time, not doing the administrative part of it and not doing the implementation. I'm sure to have a team to lead the implementation who I just chat with on a very regular basis to make sure that everything is on track and according to the strategy that I have laid out.
Okay, great. That answers a big question for me. Yeah, I think you're right, especially when it comes to, I suspect, where most of the business is for fractional executives is in the small to medium sized business categories. Does that sound about right to you?
Correct. Yeah.
Okay, great. Let me ask this question. Leading through a crisis is something many business leaders had to learn in recent years.
Yes.
What?
I'm
Sure.
laughing because I had to as well.
Did you? Okay. So this is great. Here's the real question. What are some of the key principles you rely on when navigating uncertainty?
Freak out. I know it
That's
sounds
probably number one.
I know it sounds simple to say now. The crisis that I'm thinking of in my mind is for my manufacturing company at the end of 2021. We ran out of one of our raw materials. It was stuck on a boat off the coast of California. And so we ran out of our raw materials in early December, and that pretty much cut our Christmas sales down completely, which is a large portion of where the sales from the company come from. So without having that key ingredient to manufacture a product for a good 3 months, what do we do? It was brutal because we lost Christmas and we lost Valentine's Day because of this, which are a couple of our biggest holidays. And I had to change the marketing on a dime. We had to change what the staff was doing. We had to suddenly ration to fulfill the most important orders that needed to get out the door based on what the clients say they were doing with their orders. And then, of course, those fun conversations with all of the rest of the clients. Very sorry, but it's going to be we're back order for 2 months. I know you needed it now. And the thing that really made the difference there, I mean, I'm sure this is not news, is just good communication with clients, because just so that they understand what's going on with staff to prevent the rumor mill. And then within the other, with my co-president and I, as far as what do we do on a daily basis? How do we navigate this? We had long-term plans. We knew eventually we get the parts, but it really came down to we had to start to navigate our cash and our supplies very tightly. And so we are monitoring these most days of the week, I would say, and just take it as it comes. And the other thing I had to do was not create stories in my mind about what could be, but instead deal with what is actually going on in front of me and not just scare myself thinking, what if we never get these raw materials in? They will come, just be patient. And yeah, just do what you can to make it through. And then when the products do finally come, readjust everything again to try to make up for the cash that was lost during that outage.
Yeah, I can imagine. Let me ask you this. I want to key off a word. You talked about communicating with your clients, communicating with the staff. I've always felt, and I've been very much supportive of this idea, that during times of ambiguity, when you don't know when you're going to get the materials or you're trying to figure out how to do it. Collaboration with clients or, for example, especially with the staff, telling them the truth, telling them what's really going on, and collaborating with them would be incredibly important in terms of managing your way through the ambiguous time. I'd love to get your reflection on that particular point. How important is collaboration to you when maneuvering through an ambiguous time?
It's enormous because if I didn't collaborate with my clients, didn't keep them in the loop as possible, it would have been very easy for them to walk away. And my manufacturing company, we do B2B and B2C sales, direct to consumer sales. And communicating with both the direct to consumer and the B2B had to be very proactive so that we could interact in more of a collaborative manner. So what I did is actually I recorded little videos, just simple videos explaining what's going on, explaining why we're having these problems, and explaining when we expect the parts in and what can be done. And I posted it on our website, and we send it out to all of the B2B clients. And what ended up happening was after sending out that video, everyone said, "Oh, I saw Bethany saying this about the parts, and I understand clearly what does this mean for my order," so that they felt like it was a more collaborative approach instead of us saying at the last minute, "Sorry, we can't, we know we're supposed to deliver today, but we just can't." And we actually, in the long run, we didn't lose that many clients. A couple jobs had to fall away because that timeline wouldn't work for them. But in the end, we ended up keeping the vast majority of our clients.
And I think that's so important. People want truth. They want
Yes.
honesty. They want truth. That's what they really want. And most businesses, most people can understand things. That was certainly, I remember that time when all the ships were sitting off the coast of California. I
Okay.
remember it clearly. We had hundreds of ships trying to get into port, and it was crazy. It was just madness. And so much was being held up off the coast. It's just an incredible situation. Surprising that companies made it through that in many respects. I'm sure there were some that went by the wayside because perhaps they didn't take the course of action that you took and said, "Hey, listen, we're doing the best we can. Here's the situation as it exists. This is the truth. We'll manage somehow." Go ahead.
Yeah. I credit a lot of our ability to continue with not just sending an email and not even having, certainly phone calls took place, but just it coming from me as the co-president of the company saying, "This is our problem and this is what we're doing. And we really are doing our best." And I think just communicating in that way, if, of course, accompanied by phone calls from their sales rep or whatever it was, it we didn't have too many complaints and we didn't have negative feedback from it.
Great.
Yeah.
Great. Yeah. Again, people are looking for truth and honesty.
Yeah.
That will buy you more stuff in a sense than anything. As long as you're truthful and you're honest and you tell people, because most people, not all, but most people are reasonable.
Yes.
And they've been probably in a tough situation themselves and remember that time. But as long as you're not lying to them, you're telling them the truth. That's always been my policy. And I think it's always come back positively as a reflection. Let me ask you this. How about this question? You've worked with companies at different stages of growth, right?
Yeah.
Okay. What are the most critical marketing moves a startup should make in the first few years? What should they?
There are a few things that are really key in the first few years of any company starting. One, as your brand starts to grow, as your company starts to grow, you're going to have to reposition because most people, when they start to sell their product, they sell to maybe the first degree or second degree acquaintances or people that they know. But as you start to expand that out to selling to people that you don't know, and your brand and your products maybe start to go into a distribution type methodology, you're going to have to really change how you market. And you're going to have to really identify with not the people that you know, but everybody who's purchasing your product. How can you understand how your product is impacting them so that you can really understand why it is that they're buying? I think another thing that another area where companies make a mistake is under-investing in marketing and over-reliance on just sales, especially for B2B. You hear a lot of people, oh, we're having a really hard time getting sales going. We should hire at least one or two more outbound salespeople, or whatever their number is. That might not be the problem. The problem might be that you don't have knowledge of your product or your service getting out there. So you could have top-notch salespeople that are trying their hardest, and if they're not being supported by marketing, then they're just swimming upstream for no real reason. So yeah, I would say those are a couple of the large areas of that entrepreneurs should be aware of in the first couple of years while they're marketing.
Yeah, for me, it's the difference between strategy and tactics, right? The salespeople are the tactical. They're the ones going out, meeting with the client, trying to make the sale. But marketing is really a strategy situation. It's
Agreed.
what do we do? Where are we going? And who are our intended clients? What is it we deliver to the marketplace? So many of my podcasts, people are probably getting tired of me saying this, but that's okay. A focus on how important it is to have a very succinct one-sentence mission statement. Now, a lot of times in a mission statement, organizations put 7 or 8 paragraphs. No, we don't want that. Just tell me very succinctly what it is that you do and what is it that you intend to do. What are you in the marketplace? One sentence, that's what you get.
Mm-hmm.
Because it's not only about how you are perceived in the marketplace by your clients. It's also, and to me, more importantly, about creating that galvanizing spirit with the people who work for the organization. They want to contribute to your organization, to your company. You got to tell them very cleanly and succinct. The funny reference that I've been making lately is Gerard Butler in the movie 300.
Okay.
You know, when he says, this is Sparta. Does anybody not know who we are? It's very clean. And now that's a slogan. It's not a mission statement. It's a slogan. This is Sparta. But the whole idea is it's so clean, it's so crisp that it's important not only for your clients to understand who you are and what you do and for them to grasp hold of that, but also for the people inside the company. I'd love to get your reflection on that idea about mission statement.
Oh, as you were speaking, I just can't help but thinking that when I read mission statements that have bullet points and multiples of paragraphs, it comes across as almost like someone trying too hard to seem professional and thinking that verboseness equals professionalism, which is not true. And if you have a clear and concise one sentence mission statement, it makes it so that people can actually grasp it with their minds. It's not some boundless idea. It's just a simple statement so you can interpret it for yourself, what it means to you, whether it be the company owner, the company you work in, or the company that you're buying from. And I find beauty in simplicity like that. I love short statements. I love declarative statements. I love simplicity and not having to have so many words to try to interpret what's going on here.
Yeah, I absolutely agree. I remember this one statement I read one time. It said, oftentimes the simplest things are the most powerful. And I absolutely believe in that. It's my feeling that when you see a mission statement or an organization's mission statement, and there are like 6 paragraphs, right, plus bullet points, they're trying so hard to be liked by everybody. They want to be liked by everybody, right?
Yep.
I call them now, I've given them a name because of my somewhat sarcastic nature. And I call them roulette wheel mission statements. Okay. And what is that? Knows what a roulette kind of wheel looks like. Spin the ball, falls into a pocket. But next to the roulette wheel is the betting table, right? So you have the betting table, and all the numbers on the roulette wheel are on the betting table. So you can bet colors, you can bet black and red, or you can bet any number. A roulette wheel mission statement is like somebody coming up and putting money on every number. I'll just put money on every number. Oh, you're going to win. You're going to win. But you're going to lose a heck of a lot of money too, by the way. And to me, trying to cover every number, it doesn't get you any. In the world in which we live today, where Values alignment is so important to individuals working in organizations today. To know you care about the same things they care about. They want to know what your values are. You know what you want to know what their values are when they join the company, and know what your values are. If you can't articulate what your value system is, the organization, then chances are you'll hire this person and they'll be gone very short.
Yeah.
You won't be able to hang on to them. At least the average now is about 5 years. 5 years is good. And I think I absolutely agree with you. Simplicity is a beautiful thing. And certainly in marketing, it's the essence of my respects. Simplicity. Just amazing things. It's just amazing. So I absolutely agree. Go ahead.
To that end, I had the pleasure of writing the mission statement with partaking in the group that wrote the mission statement for the manufacturing company. And we came up with something to the degree of to bring joy to every home and office. Our mission is to bring joy to every home and office. Simple, you know who, you know what. It doesn't talk about our product. It's not verbose. I wrote that 5-6 years ago, and I'm pretty sure I'm quoting it 100% correctly, if not 90% correctly, because it's just so simple. And why not? Why not make it as simple as that?
Why not make it as simple as that? Yeah, last year I was asked to do a strategic thinking session with a fence building company. Tell you a story. Fence building company. So I said, send me your mission statement. We're working on it. I said, send me what you. And they sent it to me, and it was a page long. I said, I can't use this. This is crazy. I can't use this. Great company, great people. Rewrote it. And I sent it back to them. I said, okay, this is what we're going to use because I can work with this. And they said, okay, fine. That's fine. So we went through the whole one day strategic thinking session and I differentiate the difference between strategic thinking and strategic planning this way. Strategic planning, you're looking to find answers to questions. Strategic thinking, you're making sure you're asking yourself the right questions.
Yeah.
Because if you're not, you're putting money behind stuff that's not going to do anything for you. So when we finished, they said to me, hey, John, is it all right if we work with the mission statement? I said, sure, it's your mission statement. They cut it down another half. So I think it's about 8 words now. But here's what happened. This is the beautiful part. It's one of those things that happens when you're a trainer like I am or a consultant. When they finished, when they said, yeah, that's it, 3 or 4 of them stood up and they pointed to the PowerPoint slide because I was doing it on a PowerPoint slide as they were saying it.
Sure.
And they said, that's who we are. That's what we do. These are managers across the company. That's exactly who we are, and that's what we do. And you just go, bang, we got it, right on the money. So those beautiful things like that happen every once in a while. And now that's the thing that flourishes them every day. There's no doubt about what they're doing. The rest of the company understands this is who we are. This is what we do. This is what we're all about, just as you said. So I think I absolutely agree with you. Let me see where we're going here. I know. Let's ask you this question. If you had a magic wand, you ready? Here it comes.
I'm ready.
And if you had a magic wand and you could change anything that you see in the world in which you work, you can take it anywhere you want. We can talk about CEO stuff or CMOs. Isn't you really, that's where you are in that part of your life now, is chief marketing officer, fractional chief marketing officer. What would that thing be that you could change, and why did you choose that?
Actually, my answer is not related to my work as a fractional CMO. It is related to the life that I live, which is, if I can wave a wand, I would say that every leader needs to lead a company in a foreign culture for at least 2 years, 2 to 3 years. And here's why. When you are working with people who don't necessarily speak the same first language, who have a very different worldview, who have very different business practices, and you need to see how they get things done. And oftentimes you're also going to see how they successfully get things done. It makes you start to question how you're doing things. And it's a radical eye-opening to the notion of, I can do this better. And it takes away all of the inhibitions to try new things, because you have to, because you're in a different culture. The team around you wants to do things one way. And as the leader, you can't just say no because that's not how we do it in my hometown. That's not going to fly. And it opens your eyes to the world of possibility, not to sound corny, but to the world of possibility for what can be. And also respect for the different points of view that you're going to encounter if you lead a company in a foreign culture.
Wonderful. I have said, and I am such a believer in this now, it's been what I've been doing for 30 years. Okay. So I'll just mention this. My leadership model that I started developing 30 years ago, this is not something that just happened after COVID or anything. I started working on this 30 years ago, is based on one premise, one foundational piece. Okay. And that foundational piece is contribution.
Mm-hmm.
Doors open. Come on in. Sit down. Relax. We have a problem. We have a challenge. Anybody got any ideas? Anybody want to say anything? Feel free. Put it all on the table and see where it takes us. I have been using the example, if you will, of Star Wars.
Okay.
And what I've said is we have raised the last 60 or 70 years, we have raised leaders of organizations to be Jedi Knights. Okay, so here we have a problem, we have an issue. Here comes the Jedi Knight brandishing their light sword and vanquishing the problems and issues that lay before us. They sheath their light sword and move on to the next problem. And I said, there's a problem in the world we live in today, a world that's living in the aftermath of COVID, where people are now moved away from this notion of just making money, just having a paycheck, wanted to be involved in something where they feel impact, where they're making an impact. Certainly, and I may ask you this question, in the absolute incredible technological advancements in artificial intelligence and
Mm-hmm.
things like that, which is now just those two things. Any idea what we thought leadership was in the past, from this hierarchical, positional based idea of leadership to one where we need to look everywhere we can for good ideas and involve people in the decision making processes of the organization. So what I'm saying now is most CEOs, and this plays right to your point, have to see themselves like Yoda. Right?
Okay.
You see what I mean? You have to
Yeah.
see yourself like Yoda. The question, and what was Yoda? The facilitator, the teacher, the person, the little individual who put the challenges before the organization and said, this is where we're trying to go. We need your help to get there. How do we get there from here? Putting them in charge of their own lives, making them masters of their own fate, in a sense. So the job of the Yoda is to create a generation of Jedi Knights.
Yeah.
Later on will become Yodas, in the sense that they will have to do this facilitatory kind of leadership that allows people to step up and step into the processes. I'd love to get your reflection on that.
The thing that I think about Yoda is the embodiment of wisdom. And I, I like to think that leaders can rely not just on their ability to do things like a Jedi Knight, because that's most likely where they've come from in their career in years past or in career stages past. But by the time you're a leader, you have to have the wisdom to see the people around you for who they are, realize that everyone else is going to have their strengths, and to try to play into that, to try to use those strengths to strengthen the company in general. And that takes wisdom, because you have to look at the people around you and assess them for what they can do, what they can't do, how they can contribute, and how they can't. And the other thing is that you're going to make mistakes. You have to have the wisdom to accept that as a leader, you're going to make mistakes. You are fallible. And to just keep moving forward. Yoda certainly made a few mistakes in there. And we don't need to get into that. But
Too. Go ahead.
but as a leader, you make mistakes. I've made oodles of mistakes as I've been going through. I upset staff when I didn't need to, push staff beyond what they thought was reasonable. So I had to have pushback. And then not to mention interpersonal conflicts where wisdom told me, don't involve myself in the beginning, a little bit of, ooh, I want to get involved because I want to see if I can help to solve this problem. Why? That's more arrogance. Let the problem solve itself. That's wisdom. And
Go
yeah, go
ahead. I'm
ahead.
sorry. Go
No,
ahead.
please.
I was going to say, and wisdom certainly can be gained by working, leading in a different culture,
Oh yeah. Oh,
learning
for
how
sure.
they do it and opening it up and saying, maybe I'm working here in France or I'm working here in India, for example. Uh, how do they do it? And they seem to be able to get from A to B. What is it that they do that maybe I'm not used to doing? Let me just open it up and see. Let me be the learner here on how things are really trying to get done. Go ahead. I'll let you take it from.
Yeah, I was more just reflecting as you're saying that on my time in Shanghai. In one company in particular I worked with, I really got to understand how they do what they do and what made them tick. This was a client company of mine. And just seeing how they made decisions, seeing how they ran their manufacturing company. I took a lot of that back to my family company because I saw this company over here is doing this really well. And I want to implement that. And this company over here is doing this job actually, I think, pretty poorly. But I think we're also doing it poorly. So I'm going to see what they're doing to fix this problem. And then also realizing that there are aspects of the cultural side, like, for example, the business climate of Shanghai at the time was very competitive and fast paced. And I went from that kind of a working environment to the working environment of Portland, Oregon, which is not fast paced. It's very relaxed, I should say. And that was challenging for me in the beginning. And I actually ended up saying, okay, this is my company and we do need a little bit more exuberance in our movement forward here. And so I brought that in and continued to push the company forward at a faster pace than the company was used to. And I had to get the staff used to that as well. But that, if I had never left Portland, I would not have known A, the benefit of moving faster, and B, how to get it done. And I learned that overseas.
Interesting. Very interesting. I agree. I want to ask you one last question because it's so prevalent in the world today. It's just whatever your reflection is, great. Tell me how you see artificial intelligence impacting the world that you work in. Let's zero in a little bit more. As a chief marketing officer, how is AI impacting you?
Oh gosh, I use AI regularly in my work. I use it regularly. Actually, most of the way I use it is to do content creation using AI. And I see it impacting the way that marketing is done inside companies. It used to be that you needed a copywriter, you needed someone to handle the buying and creating, doing all these different things. So you'd have a multi-person team to get something done. Now, AI, for better or for worse, is great for making content. And I see a lot of copywriters maybe not being able to find work in the future because of this. I see AI as really changing the marketing department and really slimming down the number of people that need to be in a marketing department at any given time. And all you really need is someone to come up with the strategy, what's going to happen, and then someone to interact with the AI to make sure that it does happen, and then put it into the marketing platform that you're using. But I can really see how the number of people that are going to be involved in the marketing department is going to start to decrease significantly. And I
Yeah.
think that marketing specialists are going to have a difficult path forward if they're not used to using AI to get the work done.
I absolutely agree. I'll leave you with a quote from the CEO of NVIDIA, Jensen Huang, who said, "You don't have to worry about AI taking your job. You have to worry about somebody who understands, uses, and knows AI to take your job." And I think that's
Yes.
absolutely right. I was thinking about this morning because of a presentation I'm doing next month. Uh, it's like meeting somebody today in terms of not using AI. I use it a lot now. But meeting somebody today and say, listen, I'll send you an email. And somebody looks at it and goes, what's an email? Aren't you connected to the internet? Well, what's the internet? I mean,
Yeah.
as as crazy as that may sound in the world we live in today, people who don't accept and learn to use AI as the tool that it is, in the end, no matter what the technology is, it's always about the people, as far as I'm concerned.
Oh,
Right?
yeah.
It's always about the people. But if you don't know how to use this tool, it's almost as though you're saying, I don't even have any idea what an email is. As ridiculous as that may sound. And believe me, I was there when they started sending emails years ago. I remember seeing Milnet, people using Milnet before it became the internet.
Oh,
So,
yeah.
yeah, I'm pretty old, but that's beside the point. Right now, we want to move on. Anyway, listen, Bethany, you've been a great guest. I can't thank you enough for being with me here today on the Throttle Up Leadership Podcast. I wish you every success in the future. Good health, good luck. Thank you so very much for your time.
Thank you, John. It's been a pleasure to be here. And thanks for having me as a guest on your podcast.
You are most welcome.